Okay, next day. I think today I'm going to start painting the cannons, which I left separate. Get these painted up, and then once that's done, I can start doing some of the details on the ship. I think I should have enough paint left from the light paint. I don't know if I can wake it up enough. I might have to mix up some more. Yep, need to mix more. So again, for the base color on the ship, I was using pure black mixed with a tan. Not a lot. I don't need a ton of paint to cover these little cannons. It's amber gold. And again, this is acting more like a base coat, so don't have to be too careful. One of these two sides is going to end up getting covered in glow effects because it'll be the side facing the soul wave that goes in the inside of the ship. But until I know which side that is, I'm just going to paint everything the same. I'll just make it glow later. Not too worried about being too careful at this point. Everything else is going to get covered up anyway. Get all the wood parts, hit the metal on the cannons, and I'll be set. Cannon number 2. Just kind of base coating it in the warm black. Gonna take a little bit for that to dry, so meanwhile I can get started on some of the details in the ship. First, I'm gonna look over and see if there's any spots. I think there's a couple spots where the dark didn't really hit the black wash, so I'll just add a little more. This is a brand new pot. I'm not gonna open that with one hand. That's how it spills. All right. So just some spots that I may have missed. That looks pretty good there. Looks like I didn't get this spot under here. that's about it. Metallic showing there. Gonna cover that up with the wash. This side looks pretty good. Bring some of that wood back up anyway, so that's good for now. So I'm gonna get a little bit of my golden blonde color mixed with a light off-white. Really get it nice and watery. Really control the amount that's on my brush. Whenever you have a very thin layer like that, you don't want to have a bunch on there. And now I'm just going to bring some of the light on some of the highlight areas back up. Don't want to have it run down into the recesses. Just one reason you don't want to have a lot of it on your brush. You don't want it to wick off your brush onto the piece. You want to just leave where the brush hits.
Sorry. Is it okay if I have a yogurt? What? Thank you.
Just kind of bringing this tone back. From where all the wash brought it down. Don't really mind having, well, I guess I'll just tap it a little bit. Kind of where the highlights would be. And then some of these other areas here, just bring that back a little bit. If you miss, just wick it back up and rinse it off. Careful not to paint over the rivet. So don't cover the metallic.
You can sniper shoot everybody. You can sniper shoot everybody.
Just kind of add some interest back to the side of the ship. By lightening up some of this accent wood. Mix up a little more of it. Some golden blonde. It's mostly what it is, but then I just muted it down a little bit with this misty gray. Just to take a little edge off the kind of yellowy tone of it. too thick. There we go. Got a little on the wood there.
Where's the
Just gonna take it back off with some water.
come around?
There we go.
Very slowly.
It really is. Maybe I'll go over this with like a sepia wash. Not sure. That might make it a little too much like my bone. Honestly, having it kind of be this bleached wood color is probably gonna be fine. Build some layers back up there. There we go. Kind of pops. This needs to be thinner for this. I want to really layer this on and not have it be thick. Hit these splines that I'd previously brought up and the wash brought down a bit far. Got a little on the top here again. Just take that back off. kind of highlight this symbol back here, back up a little bit. It's almost like a dry brush technique, but a little more careful. Just using kind of the edge, only the tip when I want to. Little on the boat again. So just use a clean wet brush, pull that back up. It'll dilute it down so far you won't be able to see the paint. All right, so that symbol kind of pops up off the back there. Get the really thin stuff for the top of these. Maybe a little thicker for these splines. I think it is kind of lacking a lot of definition up here. So I'm going to actually come back with my mid-tone. Kind of my first highlight color. Still have plenty of that paint on here. I'm just going to bring this back just a little bit. Don't want it to be too bright, but I do want it to kind of pop a bit. Maybe just a little bit on the tops of these. Just I'll blend it in a bit too much. wanted some actual separation in there. Back to the lighter color on the side. And then bring up this accent here a bit more too again.
Oh, jump right all over it. Mother. That's not fair. Oh, there's 4 of them.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like how it was right?
Bring this all back up.
Wonder it's
All right. Kind of carries onto these. Got a little miss. Let's take this off. There we go. All right. Cannons aren't quite dry. So now, get some browns to get ropes and bags and that kind of stuff. I'm going to keep them pretty light. I think they'll be a little standing out just from the fact that they're not so black, gray. So I'm not going to mix these down with any grays. We'll see how it works out. Maybe put a brown wash on them instead of a black wash. So this is just leather brown from Reaper. Start putting a base coat down to that. And this could probably be a couple coats of thin coats to get this to brown up, so to speak. Right now it's kind of pooling, so went down a bit too much on the brush when it was thinned. But thin also means it'll dry quicker. Get this rope. first coat dry while I hit some of the other ropes and coils. I got this rope down here at the bottom of this deck. And a rope that trails out on the deck from that a little bit. I got this bag and rope kind of pile here next to the stairs. There's not enough tint in the paint. I don't even think I thinned it that much. Maybe I did. Check the video later.
You can take off that marker,
There's rope coiled around the mast. Top and bottom. Second coat on this. Coming in much more clearly now.
I hate those things. Don't you know?
Hey. Second coat on these parts. All right, so those are the three main areas that have the rope. The next color up is just our amber gold. Put some of that down as a highlight one. So that first coat was actually more of like a shadow coat. That plus the brown wash is going to be the shadow. This plus the brown wash is going to be kind of the mid-tone. So I'll put this in most of these areas. I'll just kind of skip the most recessed bits to act as shadow. My typical painting is put down the base coat, which will be your shadow once you wash it. Put on your mid-tone everywhere but the deepest crevices. Put on a highlight. Wash it down, and then see if you're done, or if you want it to be a little brighter, you just bring the highlight back up. Kind of like they did in the wood. So it kind of has that canvas kind of look. Colors are all funky on the camera, probably because of the ambient lighting here. Kind of bring that rope up. I figure the rope and the canvas would probably be made from pretty similar materials, so paint them very similar. If anyone watching has any questions, make sure you click through to the actual stream and not where I shared it from. Otherwise, I won't see your question. Gonna get that rope highlighted up. Start getting some of these. This will almost be kind of a heavy dry brush on these ropes. Just using the side of my brush to kind of get everywhere except their crevices. The wash is going to do most of the trick on them. All right. I'm just gonna dip into my golden blonde color here, just to do the final highlight on this stuff. Before the wash. Got a little bit in the deck there. Slightly damp brush. Before it dries, just take that off. It's kind of selective hit on the ropes. Don't want to cover everything with this. It's just meant to be a highlight, and since they're all kind of the same, I'm not going to sit there and highlight up each strand. I find the way that rope really looks, it kind of catches the light sporadically in different areas depending on how it just happens to be aligned to the light. So we'll do the same kind of thing here. This one really didn't get a great base coat, but I think it'll look fine. It'll look old and decrepit and beat up. All right, now that needs to dry before I can wash it, so I can get back to these cannons that are actually dry now. And get my next tone of this warm gray that I mixed up for the boat. Just hit most of it with that. Maybe a little at the bottom. Same as the boat, I'm going to be washing all this in black. So I'll wait till I get all my metals and everything done before I do. That should be good for that. All right. Let's start doing a wash on the ropes and everything here. Sepia brown earth shade. Center this in the camera a little better because I'm not going to want to pick this up while I'm washing this. Let the gravity do its work. This brown just works great on these ropes. Let that dry. Honestly, the boat's pretty done except for the glows. So I'm gonna get these cannons. Probably call it a night for this cast. Maybe paint the Satixis later on today. metals, liquid silver Vallejo. Does an amazing base coat. Cannot use water with them, so set that aside before you accidentally dip your brush in it. Instead, rubbing alcohol. This brush is like 2 bucks. I think I got that. Don't think I'll need a whole bunch of this. You can see how well it coats. This here would probably be like a metallic casting peg off the cannon to hold it in place, so we'll paint that. I'm not going to get all these little rivets until we do our dark color, just like the boat, but I'll get this metal ring on the side here. Cast on the side over here. One down. Anyone has any questions, make sure you click through to the video and don't ask them as a comment on the share that I shared them to various groups. Otherwise, I won't be able to see your comment until after the whole thing's done. Stuff is alcohol based, dries very fast. Base coat done. Which means I'm done with this. Put this stuff away. Move on to the darker silver. Painting is one of my favorite parts too. I don't know, I like the whole hobby. Some people really complain about cleaning and assembly, but I don't mind it. Put together model kits, things like that. Just putting some of this isopropyl alcohol in there so it doesn't set on it and clean it out easier later. Cover it like that so it doesn't all dry up while I keep painting other stuff and don't make you guys watch me clean out a palette. All right. So now I got my Shadowed Steel Master Series. Oh no, I haven't done any glows yet. Glows are last done. I can paint everything else first, and then that way if I add a glow over top of a different color, I can kind of blend it, get it to cut in. So right now I'm just painting up these cannons real quick so they're ready to go when I'm ready to put them on the ship.
That's what did it.
I don't know.
The reason I used alcohol is because I was using an alcohol-based paint. It's this Vallejo liquid silver I was using as a base coat. Probably wouldn't use alcohol normally. It does dry a lot quicker than water, and I don't know how it would react to most paint, but you have to use it with this liquid silver stuff. It actually has metallic pigments in it that will rust if they come into contact with normal water. So you pretty much have to use alcohol-based, or alcohol with that. That's why I use a separate brush and everything. Make sure I don't get any water in the pot. I've heard people will come back to that paint and have red in it because of the rust. It's not what you usually want on the silver. One down. Second. The boat is pretty well done. I want to keep it kind of monochromatic. I've just painted some of the detail on it as far as the ropes and the bags that were on the deck, things like that. So at this point, I'm just going to do these cannons. And then all I'll really have left to paint up is the Satixis, which honestly will probably take a bit because you want to spend some time on all the details on those as much as you can. And then after that, I can just do my glows and then basing and call it a day. All right. check out these rivets real quick. Just get a little metallic on it. Now how to hold the thing. There. So I'll pick these out, and then I'll get the bronze down on the metal, and then I can wash the whole thing in black.
So that's how you turn it up. You have to talk to him to turn it up.
A few more rivets on this side. All right. Now bronze. This is just RMP Ancient Bronze. I use this to kind of add like a rust effect. Just kind of splotch it on the metal. One thing I haven't used on this model that I use on most of my army is like a gold accent. So after I'm pretty well done, I might look it over and decide if I want to add a little bit of gold somewhere. I'm not too worried about blending or anything. The black wash is going to do that for me. Splotch that bronze all over. And then black wash. Liquid Skill. I'll just do the metal first, and then I'll probably set it down to get the rest. Gotta make sure it's completely dry before I do this. Okay. Not completely dry.
It was pretty funny.
Whoa.
That's kind of the point, Meg.
Jump. Wait, Mommy, I'm positive I saw cannon.
All right, so there's all of that. Now I'm gonna set it down so that I can paint the wood without holding it. Kind of just give all that a once over with this black wash too to make it match the boat. All right, one down. Watch the other one. It's a little bit of the paint wasn't dry yet, so it's going to kind of mute the effect a bit, but it'll still be good. Set that down. All right, that's it for now. I'm gonna let all this stuff dry and then I can start painting this Atixis. So I might start that later tonight. We will see. For now, I'm gonna go.